Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Love Inspired Teach E, the LITE Firestarters podcast. I'm back. Y'all, I had to take a little break. I'm running a little behind, but I'm back. And I had posted that we would be resuming podcasts this week. But, you know, still have to get the word out there, let people know. So this is going to be a short one today. We'll still count it as an episode because really and truly, you have to know when it's time to reassess, take a break, all that good stuff. But as far as light fire starters and being here for people, that's absolutely still the case. Just need to take a little hiatus. If you don't know, Love Inspire Teach E is the acronym. LITE is the acronym for Love Inspire Teach E. A blog that was started really to help people find more or less their purpose, and what can guide that, the things that you love, the things that inspire you, the things that teach you and help you to evolve to help other people. And so as far as the podcast goes, the topics have ranged from being about finances, relationships, health, and really we occasionally touch on spirituality as well. But as you can see, I was determined, you know. I feel like, the plan was there, the preparation and knowing that this was coming was there's always a plan, there's always a framework, and how much you put into it is important. But for a lot of us, sometimes it's just a matter of taking action and getting going. And with kicking things off, I kind of knew I was really lightweight on the advertising of getting the podcast back up and consistent. It was really fun to do the finance podcast in December. That was something I was really trying to decide is that where we're gonna put our focus. But the fact of the matter is, LITE is meant to be so much more than just about finances. It's supposed to be more of a holistic thought process behind these podcasts, and that's why the topics range. So definitely want to get some consistency and really pursuing a topic of interest to someone who could really be featured as maybe a regular host of the podcast for that specific segment. But tonight is just really getting back into the groove of things, making sure that, it's not lost, that there's some level of consistency to this. And sometimes it just has to be that simple. You never know who you're going to touch. You never know who needs to kind of get that kick, that inspiration. So when it comes to Love Inspire Teach E, we'll be back to being that consistent Tuesdays, but I ultimately decided against doing that. Like I said, that focus on finance, really want to keep giving people variety, giving them something to check back on. And I really appreciate the support that we've gotten from people, especially people, whether it's been people who've checked back in and caught replays, people who've shared. You guys are awesome, because this is something that will grow. I have, other friends that started podcasts like several years ago, and it took them like 3 years before they even moved towards getting sponsored podcasts. And I don't think that was their intention. It was always something maybe in the back of their goals. But when it comes to this, this month, I knew there was going to be a comeback because it was going to be the year marker, and I didn't want us to lose that progress. And tonight, it's as simple as get out there, get started. As far as being a fire starter, sometimes the flame has to start off small and tiny. It has to be okay for it to be like that. Everything does not have to be perfect, because, there's been so many times where it's gone and all out, like, let's make this huge. And then there's other times where it's just been a push. And the commitment has always been to make sure we're reaching out to people. We're letting them know, no matter how great you may feel, things can easily change. And when you're looking for that inspiration, that support, you can find it. And sometimes you're going to even see like the behind the scenes or even the early times. Embrace it all. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's where we're at tonight. It's just like a reintroduction. What is Love Inspire Teach Evolve about? What is the Firestarters podcast aiming to do? How are we going to go about doing it? I've talked with several people about revisiting the relationship segment that kicked it off. It definitely was a popular podcast. It was interesting. There's a lot that I think made that one of the better ones, but we also had, like I said, that consistent series in December about finances. So if you haven't checked out the podcast before, I definitely encourage you to look at some of the past episodes. The spirituality one, I feel like, everyone has different definitions of that. And there's some people like where if you want to find something that's more of like a Christ focused or a religion focused group, you can find that. But I feel, and no, honestly, we're more lightweight when it comes to that. So, yeah. So as far as the topics, I've talked about the finance, relationships, the spirituality part, and then, health. I think it's been easy for me to really make sure that the health aspect of it stays part of the Firestarter group, because this podcast was started more or less during the pandemic, and that impacted so many people. And it was so important to make sure that we touched on, how do we adjust? How do we take care of ourselves? And I think that it's really easy to get away from taking good care of yourself. And if you want to stay inspired, if you want to keep that light inside of you alive, whether it's light, fire, whatever you want to call it, you got to factor in how health comes into it. So it should all tie together. It should all be something that's worthwhile. It's all things that ultimately help you strive to hit your goals, strive to keep pushing ahead, and really give you perspective and a framework, whether it's the love part of it that resonates with you, or whether it's the teaching part. They're all interconnected. Whether we use, these broad topics or not, the goal is always to bring something of value to people. And if you don't show up, that's not going to happen, right? So showing up is a small part of that, but just giving yourself some expectations, having, an idea of what's going on here, and seeing if it's a good fit for you. We've had people join the private, semi-private, because it's easy to join the Facebook group, and really the mission of the group has resonated with people. But part of, the challenge is also making sure that it's an active group. And when people have things that they want to share, you'll see that. But encouraging people to have that safe space is where you'll find that element. But we want to give a more open forum to discuss topics that are really relevant. I know for me personally, there's been a lot going on, but then I believe it was yesterday, I've definitely been seeing these posts about, another engaging event of I don't know, there's actually, whether it's this week and someone getting shot and killed and schools getting shot up, there's always something that can kickstart or be that flame that starts this conversations. And all I can think is, what's the most important part of all that to focus on? What is it? Is it the health aspect? Yeah, like I think mentally we're all dealing with a lot of different things, and when these like deathly events that feel like they're preventable come up, it becomes relevant. And then you think about, people taking different sides, different perspectives. There's that financial aspect to it and that financial driver to it. Or when it comes to even spirituality, like I know myself being moved to tears when you see like or hear someone who's taking care of their family and something happens to them and they're just going to pick up their siblings and they get shot. Things like that, it can touch you to your core. And it's important to have these conversations, but have a purpose behind it. And the podcast is definitely meant to be a space for that, and a forum for that. But it was also time to just kind of ease back into it. So just giving you a highlight, real more or less of the intention here, what we're aiming to do. The format had started off being an hour long, and that's when we were bringing more guests on and coordinated in that regards. Then it gotten cut down to a 30-minute format, which I think is only really relevant when we know it's just going to be me speaking about, what I find relevant, what I think is important, what nuggets I have to share and want to make sure that whoever needs to hear it is not missing out on that. So definitely, as always, appreciate those who show love, who come out, who pop in, or even if it's, oh, I see she's gone on and I just want to see what she was talking about. Tonight is just, let's do another reintroduction. We'll definitely have a lot more to share in the future, give you a little more insight into what the conversation is going to be about. But tonight is about keeping it simple, given the framework and saying, hey, as long as somebody's touched and there's value, this is still something fun to do. So go ahead and feel free to check out the blog, Love Inspired Teach E. It's loveinspiredteache.com. And then, we're here to stay. And the podcast was a great pivot that, needs to be kickstarted again. So I, as always, wish all the best. You guys have a great night, and thank you for popping in. Sorry I didn't go the full 30 minutes, and even it was like a little bit of a slow start, but we're here, and it's gonna keep growing. It's gonna get back to being intentional. There's so many opportunities to, switch gears, and that there's a reason for that. So have a great night, y'all. Thanks for popping in again. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 7:00. And I did reach out to a couple people for guest topics, but I still think, easing into that is going to be the goal, and just setting up a structure to how frequently there are guests will make it easier to streamline this and get the podcast back to, the place it needs to be. So thanks again and have a great night.